Hello, you beautiful people, and welcome to another Jim's Monday Malt Samples. Few of you in tonight. Good to see you all. It really is. I'll just dive straight in and say hello to those who are here currently. Uh, Menno was in early, knocking the door, trying to get in. Good to see you, Menno. Billy Saunders, good to see you. Bud Jenkins, Greg's Whiskey Guide. Did say Billy Saunders? It did, yes. Bud Jenkins, Mark Slinger. Lots of you in here already. Good to see you guys. It genuinely is. I hope you are all well. It's been 2 weeks already. Where has that time gone? And looking at a Deanston night tonight. If you were here 2 weeks ago, it all went a pear shape for me at the start. I'll explain that now. First of all, I will say hello to Whiskey Pilgrim, who has just come in. Good to see you, my friend. Yes, a couple of weeks ago, whenever I tried to do this, I generally share this with my patrons first, the advert for this live stream, and then the following day, I'll put it out to all the other usual places. And what I'd done the last time I did this was I had made it. I'd forgotten something. I had a senior moment. That's what I'm going to call it. I had a senior moment. All went wrong, and we lost about the first 10 minutes. So I had to do a bit of chasing around. Senior moment. So we're back this time. I have it sorted out. Malcolm Douglas is in. Good to see you, my friend. Tonight I will be diving in to Malcolm sent me some great samples fairly recently. 3 Deanstons and an Ardbeg. I've held back one of the Deanstons and the Ardbeg for a later date. I'll be splitting them up, but for now, I'm going to look tonight at 2 of the Deanstons that he sent me. And the reason I've picked the 2 that he sent me in particular for tonight's live is because they are finished. They have particular finishes on them, and we'll get to that. Little sip. I get terribly dry doing these things. Greg Wire's in here. Good to see you, Greg. Yes, I'm warming up this evening because it's Deanston night for me. Why not? With good old Deanston 12. There's a reason why Ralfy made this as whiskey of the year or whiskey for the year, is there not? I mean, anybody that's had it, I'm sure will agree that this is just a good, hearty, fresh, tasty whiskey, and one that I'm glad to have in my collection. One that I will replace, one that I will have again. Steve Whiskey Breyer's in. Good to see you, buddy. As I say, welcome to Deanston night. Deanston 12. Let me know your thoughts on it. It is a good, to me, nice, fresh Highland whiskey. Deanston obviously really, really hitting it out of the park recently, I think. I'm speaking from, I think, the opinion of other people, but I've heard that they weren't always as mighty as they are now. Let's just put it like that. But in recent years, I haven't heard a bad thing said about them. And certainly this Deanston 12 merits great things to be said about it. So, how are we all doing? I've been thinking about this recently. Strange times here in the UK. Today, the chat was that the Prime Minister was back and that things would maybe move on a bit, would maybe start and get back to a bit of normality. But they're saying, and to me personally, I think rightly so, they're saying, no, let's just sit in our hands a while yet, because it's not things haven't really fixed themselves yet. Peter Box is in. Good to see you, buddy. I and as I say, I think personally, yeah, let's rally. Let's not go back into this straight away. We'll try and hold off and fix it first. Now, personally speaking, I live in the country. As I've said before, I'm a musician. I haven't earned any money since this all kicked in. But it's not a sob story because this has been like an extended holiday to me personally. The money's not coming in, but I'm quite happy because we're getting a lot of work done outside. But I do feel for those of you, and I know there's those of you out there who live in the city and things like that, and that can be an awful lot more difficult. Hmm. Just reading a little mention there from Menno. Like it didn't blow socks off. Preferred the Virgin Oak. I haven't actually had the Virgin Oak yet. It was on my to buy list very, very soon before lockdown and no more wages come in kicked off. So the 12-year-old was all I had. This is why whenever Malcolm gave me these samples, I was very, very pleased because I wanted to try more Deanston. And it did. It led me into raising a question because I always like to have some sort of question whenever I'm doing this. And the question for tonight is finishes. I've noticed an awful lot recently. If you look at, I'm going to say the likes of Whiskey Jason's reviews and who's looking at rare and you know, so a lot of these whiskies that are being pulled out are finishes, really, aren't they? You know, you're looking at your maturation of maybe, you know, 3 to 10 years generally, I'm going to say, and then a finish. And in some cases, you're looking at maybe 6 months. And the question is this? It's becoming hard. It's becoming for those of us that try to collect whiskies and you want to try things. And it's to me, it just seems easy. Store picks, things like that there to just go, right, let's just throw out another finish. You know, let's pull out something and we'll stick it in a cask because cask quality and cask availability is becoming more and more difficult. Let's just put it in something here for 6 months and then throw it out there. And the other thing is you're relying sometimes, especially I think with store picks, on somebody who maybe doesn't necessarily, they might work in the industry, but they're maybe not, as I say, with a store picker. So it's obviously it's going to be somebody maybe that works for a store for somebody and says, right, this is the time. I like that. Bring it out, bottle it, and we'll sell it on our shelves. And to me, it all starts to get a little ridiculous. You'll never keep up. There'll always be some other unicorn out there that you can't get to. I know I'm talking from personal experience in places like Belfast, where you have shops like the Friend at Hand, good Irish whiskey shop, but producing their own whiskies, labeled in their own way, bottled in their own way, finished in a way of their own decision, that are only available in the shop. Fair enough. People like that bit of rarity, but to me, it just becomes, I don't know, it starts to get a bit silly. I would love to just go to personally to look at a distillery and say, well, look, they've got 5 expressions there, and they're the one that I'm going to look at. Then you go to an independent bottler, and they put it out something slightly different. It all starts to Gregoire is saying, fortunately, everything isn't finished in weird stuff or red wine casks, but it is a trend. Even if some can be okay or really good, but I prefer it made properly. Yeah, I agree, Gregoire. It's the chasing, the bottle chasing that gets me. Give me something straight out of the distillery, which I can buy easily. This 12-year-old Deanston, to me, it's fresh. I don't want to go too far into it for the simple fact that I will be reviewing it soon in the next couple of months. But I find it very fresh. There is a slight varnish note of it. But very, very, very worthy. Very well made. Just in case anybody asks me later, remind me of putting my 12-year-old under my no-nonsense whiskey glass, because otherwise I'll forget. Say senior moments. We have all had a lot going on recently, so it can all go very wrong, can't it? Now, I'm going to move on to my first sample because I'm dying to get into it. And the first one I am going for tonight is this one. The vintage 2008, 9-year-old, 56.4% Deanston finished in brandy cask. And as I say, these were very, very kindly given to me. And I know there's some of these, and I think Malcolm Douglas himself has said that, I mean, there's some of these he would have every day if he could. But this is, I think this one's become quite hard to get now. So it has, from what I have seen. Now, I did a little bit of research. The research in this one isn't too hard to do. As I said, it's a 9-year-old finished. From what I could tell, it spends about 8 years. It spent about 8 years in what they said traditional American. So you're talking bourbon, ex-bourbon casks. Luna Aaron's in. Luna, great to see you. We are having our Deanston night, Luna, and we're just moving on, as I say, to this brandy cask finish, which 8 years in, I'm saying bourbon casks, and then from what I can tell, just over a year in French brandy butts. So there you have it. That is the history behind that one. It is, as I said, bottled at 56.4%. And when I poured this into the glass, I only did it recently, and obviously everything needs a little while to open up. It needs its time to air, doesn't it? This one in flat, as in, you know, the way sometimes, especially whenever they're higher ABV, I find they just jump straight out of the glass. This went in a little flat for me, but it didn't stay that way for long. It's now volume full of it, and there is a weird funk in here that is something not whiskey. Now, as I said, it was a year, I think, in brandy casks, just over a year in brandy butts, and there's an old smell about it straight away. When I say old, I'm talking about old wood. To me, it feels like it's got age about it, even though, you know, it's only a 9-year-old whiskey, but it feels like there's just lots and lots going on. There was obviously an awful lot of influence from that brandy cask. Cressimir's in. Good to see you, buddy. Yes, Gregoire has asked the question. The country's brandy. It does say French, and this is the bit that I would have said it says cognac. I would have thought, but it definitely, and if you look it up online, I found one very good and I can't even remember who it was from, but it did say French brandy butts. So that's all I can tell you there, my friend. If you remind me later on, I will send you trying to look there and see, but I don't see anything else from that picture. But it certainly did say on anything that I could find French brandy butts. Yeah, very. You can tell there's volume here. There's, as I said, 56.4%. It's thick-ish. But beautifully aromatic. Sweet, slightly bitter. As I said, there is a winey thing off it. So there is a slight winey hint off it. So that influence is there, as in, brandy, something, as I said, that's not of the grain. Yeah, very good. So anybody that's just joined, I was asking the question, do you have a particular favorite finish apart from the end of this live? Obviously. Is there any particular whiskey finish that you prefer? I actually have tried in the past to figure out what justifies a finish in that. Is there a specific time? Is there and obviously, well, I'm saying obviously, there's maybe those out there like myself, relatively new to this, that a finish basically after maturation, anything after maturation. So if it's taken from a cask and put into another cask, it then becomes a finish. Certain places would suggest that that time is 1 to 2 years. But I don't think there is a time limit on it. I think if it's taken from its initial basic maturation, once it's over the 3 years, put somewhere else. Obviously, if you're looking at Scotch whiskey, it's oak, or used oak, so it doesn't have to be used oak, it's oak. But anything after that is a finish. So I know certainly I hear an awful lot of people now saying that they're not big fans of wine finishes, and I actually quite like wine finishes from what I've tried. This, as I said, volume. I'm sure Malcolm's sitting there going, will you drink the thing? Well, that's interesting. That is very interesting. Goes incredibly dry. Incredibly dry. Frederick, no, I haven't. This is literally the first Deanston I've had outside of the 12. Unfortunately, as I said, I had others on my to buy list. And I think because they're another one of these distilleries that just have, like a phoenix, have just risen, and everybody now just wants their Deanstons. And I'm going to be looking for different something different to try. This here is incredibly good, different, totally different. I love whiskies like this, and I'm going to be doing a couple of reviews soon of whiskies that I know, and there's something I love about them, and this does it, and it's, you can almost pull it down and say it's this, this, and this. Now, obviously, I've only got a dram of this, and I'll probably find an awful lot more of than this, this, and this. I love to have a whiskey where I can say it tastes like vanilla, oranges, and something else. There's the three things I've found in it, and they're the three prominent things in it. But I think most of us know that doesn't happen. It just, you generally find an awful lot more than that in it. But initially in this, there's something incredibly old about it. It's a long time since I've had brandy. I've had cognacs. Obviously, it's, I suppose, much the same thing, but you can really taste the brandy effect on that. Even though it's been a while, I'm going to add some water. Probably about a quarter of a teaspoonful. It leaves a very, say it goes dry very quickly, but leaves a great, it's like celery. There's almost like a celery thing on the finish. Very, very nice. And the water has just really exploded that. Hasn't necessarily brought just an initial nose there. It didn't necessarily bring anything new to it, but what it did was just make it open right up. Yeah, very good. Very, very good. Still can't get over that celery thing in the back. It's still there. To say the finish is long, I can still taste my second sip. Oh. I was saying a while ago that it smelled older than it was. And I think now that I've added a little water, it is taking that age thing off it. It doesn't smell as fusty old as it did before. Lee J. Brown's in. Good evening, my friend. But this is quality, different, which I like. You know, if you to put this up against the 12-year-old, there are things in the 12-year-old, noticeable things in the 12-year-old. There's a brightness, there's a sparkliness, there's something very fresh. But this I really like because it's different. Now, it is very dry on the finish. Very dry. It's got oomph, it's got volume. As I said, it's 56.4% ABV, but I like a whiskey to, whenever it gets the higher volumes, I like them to be almost sweet. If you put it in terms of wine, where I want something that's going to make my mouth water almost, this has the opposite effect. This is incredibly dry. but I do like the flavour of it. Slight polish in there. Billy's asking, it's not, no, it's not. I wouldn't say it's mouth numbing. And I know what you mean, Billy. Uh, but no, it's not. And it's weird. I've had that celery thing before. Can't remember what on, but and I've had whiskies. Funny you should say that about the mouth numbing thing, because I've had whiskies that have done that, and I've wondered had I done something wrong. But no, this is this. I wouldn't say it's mouth numbing by any means. Very, I like it. I like it as something different. Brandy cask. I could see how I could like that as a finish, because yet again, to me, yet again, you're looking at a sort of a wine finish. I'm going to keep this a little bit. There'll be no blending. Don't be expecting blending tonight. I'm not blending these, especially that. Having tried that, that's I don't think that would play well with something else. And I put my nose into the my next sample a while back, and no, they don't feel like they would play together. And I wouldn't do it to this good Deanston. I'm going to go back to my 12 and just sip at it for a while. Take a little look in the chat here and see how we're all doing. I take it everyone is well. Lee J. Brown. Youngest didn't want to. I know that feeling, my friend. Youngest didn't want to go to bed, and it makes for a very, very hard time. We're like a lot of other people out there. We're currently in the homeschooling thing. Stephen Davidson, Steve A, good to see you, mate. What's up, Steve A? Stephen Davidson, something different. Yes, homeschooling, and it is what it is. Thankfully, the school have now sort of stepped up and helped us out a bit, as they've helped everybody. You know, they started to send an awful lot of stuff around people, but I think part of the problem is that it's just because it's almost so close to our children. In Northern Ireland, kids get 2 months in the summer, which is an old, basically it came back from the part of an old tradition where they went to help out on the farm, so they were needed for 2 months. So that's how long they get, and that generally kicks in end of June. That's them for 2 months anyway. My eldest son is, or my eldest child, my son is moving from primary education into secondary education this year. So he had all his exams done, he had everything completed. So they were already starting, they would be looking to wrap up and begin into project work, stuff like that. So we're really focusing on the younger one, who's still in her not early years. She's not, I mean, she's 9 years old, but, and I'm the one that's working with her, and it's interesting, put it like that. I raise a glass to Lunar, and once again, Ursula, I mean, who is a teacher in Germany, and I respect people. I know everybody's raising a glass to frontline workers, and I can't, you know, I can't not, because obviously what they've done for us, but you get an understanding at a time like this for other jobs. And as I say, I would not be a teacher for a pension, and I can tell you that for none. Well, there you are, Menno. I did not realise that in Belgium they also close for July and August. So there you are. Because I just know that England, Scotland, places like that, they close at a funny time. They generally only get a month. So, you know, it's. Luna, sorry, I just read another thing. And Luna, I'm actually glad to hear you saying that. You're not the first teacher I've heard saying it. And anybody out there who have children that are doing homeschooling, and I've heard this from other people, don't stress about it because we ain't teachers, we're not trained teachers, unless you're Luna. And so, let's just get them by, keep them happy. I think that's the main thing. Steve A's in Peter Box. It's July and August in Canada. There you go. I didn't realize. So we're almost looking then that it's pretty much places like England, Scotland, stuff like that. Only I thought that it was sort of us here in Northern Ireland that said it was the old thing that they had to go and help on the farm, and this is why the kids were off for 2 months. So it would appear there's more places in the world than I thought that are off for 2 months. So there you go. And as I say, I think they're trying to just build up. If they could slide them up to the point where they get into that break, I certainly know when my kids were off for Easter there for 2 weeks, everything was an awful lot more easy, more relaxed around here. And then it all started to kick off once we went back. Homeschooling your offspring gives you a good practice run for when they want to learn how to drive. Mano, I'm already stressed about what's going to happen. I really am. Alan, good to see you, buddy. Come a pal of Wells at times, they're trying to make it fun. And I know, Alan, that you are in the same situation as myself, trying to raise kids. And of a young age, as is a few others men who in here, and it's trying times, isn't it? But as I say, it does make you understand then what teachers go through, and it really certainly gave me a better view of what they go through, and they really, really deserve respect. Like, so they genuinely do for what they do. And even just as educators, I don't mean that to just say just as educators, but it's the crap that they must have to put up with. I love my children, but cheers. Right, moving on, shall we? And I'm going to move on to another Deanston. And this time it is this one. It is the 12-year-old Palo Cortado Finish. Now, there's the 21-year-old out there as well, which is, yet again, I think it's a bit of a rarity now. That is a strange funk. That is bizarre. I can't immediately put my finger on what that is. I really can't. Sorry, I just want to call this up. And I'm going to get off the homeschooling thing because, we're not. But Al, you have my respect, even doing the PTA chairman. I still hark back. I'm one of those people that goes, look, when I was at school, and I'm not going to say when, the school, everything was I mean, you got your dinner, you got everything, and now it just seems to be you have to pay for everything. So and you have to be involved in everything. I just don't get this. Haven't been involved in absolutely everything. Uh, Sweet or savory? Mark Slinger is asking sweet or savory. Very, very much savory. Yeah, very much savory. It's weird. It's it's not bad weird. It's just it's not anything else I've ever smelt in a whiskey before. See, Mark, yeah, I can actually say or see what you're saying. Get both at different times because it's the first thing I smelled when I get my nose into this was Chinese curry. Now, when I say Chinese curry, I mean Chinese takeaway curry, which is your good old fashioned green curry. Nothing fancy about it, but the Chinese one. Now that's starting, and I've never had that before. Now that is starting to fade, and it's becoming. Pardon me. It's starting to settle down and become more of just a good fat volume. This is the 12-year-old Palo Cortado Finish, bottled at 55.4%. As I say, there was a 21-year-old out there as well, and probably actually it would appear that the 21-year-old is the one that's easier because you certainly get more information on the 21-year-old. Now, this has been sitting in my glass here. I poured them so this has been sitting in my glass for almost an hour now. Now, I did have it capped for a while, took the cap back off it, give it a bit of air. I think it needs a little more. I'm told that the Palo Cortado sherry is a bit of a rarity in itself in the grape. It's somewhere between the Modelado and Oloroso sherries. Montellado, sorry. This is bizarre. I'm going to throw that bottle up again just to let you good hard look at it. Yet again, I cannot thank Malcolm Douglas enough for sharing these. Luna's asking, that's the 21, as far as I know. As far as from what I was seeing while I was looking at doing a bit of research in this, the blue label one is the 21-year-old Palo Cortado. Now this has settled down. I'm almost tempted to put water into it straight away, but I can't. I have to give it a chance first. It's and now that was weird. That strange thing come through there at first. Now I'm starting to get orange, a very good orange juice even. Ooh. Ooh. It sure does, Mark. It sure does. Mm. I have to go back to this 12-year-old because I'm getting celery again. If I have a stroke. Steve, thank you, my friend. I Yeah, go and get Deanston. Oh, sorry, didn't mean that. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, Bud Jenkins was saying, sorry, I did see this about the about the tomato. I will actually. I did miss that one. I will. I think I actually kicked in at the start, and then missed it. I'm sure there was something. I definitely did see him. Right. No, no celery at all. And I'm so glad to say that Mark Slinger said again, he's got celery on this. Nah, I've never had that on a whiskey. That I've had celery, as I said, I think it was Billy Saunders earlier on, but not to the extent that this just stays, lingers, and it's there all the time after in the aftertaste. Man, that palate. Whew. I think I just did that a minute ago. Say this is 55.4%. Gotta get some more in this to see what it can do. It's punching an awful lot higher than that. The brandy butt finish was 56.4%. I have, like most of us, I'm sure, I've got whiskies there that are in the 60s. And I don't think I've had one. Oh, excuse me. I don't think I've had one as punchy as that. There's that nose back again. The water has brought the savory note right back again, pulled it way back in there. And I'm going to say in okay, I've never, and one thing I do know, I've never had a sherry bomb or a sherried whiskey that noses like this. It, it, it's the sherry is on the palate. It's not Oloroso. It's not Montelato. It's not something that you've had before. It's something different. But on the nose, I've never had. And now, yet again, now that it's settled after putting the water in, it does start to settle again and stuff. And it was never a bad thing. It was never a bad nose. It was never a bad whiskey on the nose. It just was totally different. Something I'd never tasted, never nosed like that before. I said, I was saying that it was savory. There's even a meaty note about it, strangely. Yeah, this is something else. But even that celery note is there on the nose. Yeah, yeah, that water has made it more palatable because it was hot. This was hot there for a moment. Softens it enough. Still, it's quite dry, the same as the 9-year-old brandy cask finish. There's things in it, and I'm glad. It's really nice to have, and I can't. I said it a moment ago. Can't thank Malcolm Douglas enough, because only having had the 12-year-old Deanston prior to this, I feel like as if I've maybe sort of jumped off the deep end, and rather than trying the Virgin Oak or the 18 or something like that, going into these big finishes. And I know Deanston are seem to be putting quite a lot of big finishes out there. But this is very, very nice. Menno, sorry, just before you go, my friend, lack of sleep getting the better of me. Going to leave you, but listen, thank you so much for joining in. I know you've got young children as well, and you were here early doors, so you get the right to leave early. Cheers, my friend. Take care. Keep well. Yeah, this whiskey is like the 9-year-old, quality, and it's strange that there's an awful lot yet again of what's going on in Deanston behind it, you know. So this is 12 years old, bourbon cask. I know Greg would be telling me off for not cleansing my palate in between, but I actually find it sometimes. I If I cleanse my palate too often in between, then I can't get comparisons. Yeah, there are things going on now. Obviously, it's the ABV, it's the amount of change in volume that has gone between the 12-year-old and the is the initial hit that you go, right, well, okay, these are two totally different whiskies. But there are things going on that you could sense that they're the same distillery. Like Luna's saying here that she finds a meaty palate even in the 12-year-old. It's not something I would have said before, but certainly going back into it now, I would definitely say that there is certainly a savory vegetative, certainly a more savory thing going on. Still not necessarily getting the meat, but then I'm still working on something that tastes incredibly meaty to me. But yeah, every time I cleanse and go back, the savory and that it's strange. First thing that hits me is that Chinese curry again, and I never tasted that or smelt that on anything. And it quickly goes Chinese curry, celery, settles quickly, and then becomes just there's the age, then the sherry thing starts to take over the cask. Influence is there. And the sherry is, yes, is on the palate, but it's not Oloroso. It's dry, very dry, but really, really long finish. Dry but long finish. Very, very. It not only is it a good whiskey, but it's an interesting whiskey. And this is what, as I say, I've said it before, and I will keep saying it. Thank you so much, Malcolm, for sharing these with me, because It's something totally different. Malcolm has also shared with me the Oloroso matured Deanston, and I do look forward to getting into it. But as I said, I'll hold it off for a later date because I would rather. The reason why I wanted to do these tonight was it was the fact that they had two totally different finishes, and I'm going to go back to the brandy. I'm not blending them, not blending them. Don't make me. I'm going to go back to the brandy cask finish and see. And now, even I've had this capped because I wasn't necessarily intending to go back to it, but it's really picked up speed and got very large. And funny, I think they were chatting. I think you were chatting about which one was it, sweet or savoury, and I think it was the Palo Cortado. And somebody said that it starts one way and finishes, and now going back to the brandy finish, even just going into it goes savoury sweet, strangely. Well, that brandy cask one is really nice, but I can't believe how incredibly dry they are. They're so dry. I'm going to have to fit a tap in here one of these days. Greg, yes, that's something. And sorry, Malcolm, I'll go back to you in a second, Malcolm. Um, I've heard that, Greg. That Mortlack is, and yet again, it's another one that I haven't got around to trying yet. Malcolm, honestly, my friend, dry for a couple of days. I respect that. I had a dry day last week, and I think it is probably my second or third since this all started. And I actually do feel a little guilty about that. But when I say a dry day, I mean I'm saying totally dry. I I would. I mean, there's days where I'll have a glass of beer. If I've been out working outside or something, I'll have a glass of beer, and I'm not considering that a dry day because it isn't on paper a dry day. So, pardon me. So, to have an actual entire dry day has only happened 2 or 3 times since this all kicked in. As I say, I do feel a little guilty about it at times, but at the same time, I think there's an awful lot of us in the same boat, and Roy, has been bringing this up, and I totally agree with him. It's something that we need to be very careful with, that you don't slip. It's a very fine line sometimes, isn't it? We we I think in this community, I think you become, and Ralfy, I always thought was a good proponent of this. Something that says things, that just Lee J. Sorry, Lee J's had to leave his kids. Respect, my friend, and thank you for being here. I think we get that, and as I say, I think Ralphie said it in the past, where it becomes about quality, and quantity then means nothing. I actually get to the point now where I've, because I'm not getting paid because of lockdown, I'm not going to drink everything, and then be sitting thinking, well, I've got nothing left to drink now. I mean, I've got whiskey here, I've got whiskey in other cupboards throughout the house. I haven't got any in the cistern of the toilet yet. I haven't tried to hide it. Although sometimes I do wish I'd had the good stuff from because every now and again she does she does like some of the good stuff. Uh, so there you are, ladies and gentlemen. Roy's in, and he's having a dry day. So there you are. Good to see you, Roy. Yeah, I think, as I say, we just we pace ourselves. A dry day is definitely a good thing. There's no denying that. It's good for your health. It's good for your liver. I mean, we have to protect those things. But at the same time, I actually found myself maybe doing a whiskey review at and waiting, strangely waiting till noon, because then it feels all right. You know, I'll wait until noon and say, well, now I'll do my review because it's all right. It's past 12 o'clock now. And I mean, I'll be pouring. You have seen me doing reviews, and I'm pouring very little into a glass, and I'll pour a little into one glass, and maybe compare it with something else, and I'll drink that, and I still feel a little guilty doing that time of the day. I sort of try to make sure that my wife has the kids sort of, but I still at the same time I have to say, look, Daddy's going to do a review, keep the noise down. So I'll maybe have those two to do a review during the day, and then that's it. I'll not drink the rest of the day. But yet again, it's not a dry day. It's still a day where I've had those two whiskies, so I'll not consider it a dry day because it's not. So there you are. But I definitely do, as I say, agree with what Roy says. There's a fine line sometimes between enjoying it and enjoying it. And I was only enjoying a drink. And I mean, I would like to, I was one of those people that Ralfy always spoke about that enjoyed a drink maybe a little too much. So whenever I discovered this community and discovered how good whiskey could be when done right, that's whenever I started to drink an awful lot less and just enjoyed it with the rest of you. So, for Roy's benefit, who showed up late, I mean, I was going to do a roll call at the start. He's here now. Yes, tonight this was a little Deanston 12, the one that everybody has. If they don't have one, you've probably tried it. Great stuff, lovely stuff. These came from Malcolm Douglas. Very, very happy to try them. The 9-year-old vintage 2008 Brandy Cask Finish, 56.4%. And it hasn't let me down. It is still doing something that there's influence in there that wasn't whiskey. It's not winey, but at the same time, it's as I say, that's been something else that wasn't whiskey. Not in a bad way. I like that. And the other one was the 12-year-old Palo Cortado Finish. Yet again, has that weird, the celery thing's still there. It's just so big on the palate. That is massive. And now going back to it, there's a graininess of some shape or form. Not when I say grain, there's a oats, something cereal like. Yeah, there's some cereal like at the back of that. Yet again, not in a bad way. Hmm. Do you ever have a dram that you don't want to finish, that you just want the nurse and make it last forever? And that's something that's weird. I I had I have a nephew, an adult man. I mean, he's not that younger than me. Uh, contact me recently, and somebody for a gift. I'm going to wrap this up soon, but I just thought to throw this in quickly. Who somebody had bought him a drinks for from the dram pack, and it was the American ones, the bourbons, and I think there was maybe a rye in there or something. And I think I had the same pack myself once, and he asked me would there he sent me a picture of the pack and says, "Is there anyone you would recommend in here?" And from memory, I was able to pull a few of them back and say, "Well, this one tasted like toffee pennies. This one tasted like this. That one was a little dry. That one I wouldn't recommend necessarily." But it was literally just a, if I'm going to drink one of these, which one would I drink? And I said to him that I named which one that I would suggest, and he had poured it in a rocks glass, and I very very quickly went back to him and said, "Now I could make that dram last me an hour and a half. Don't just bang it into you." And he came back to me almost straight away with lots of laughy faces saying, "That's exactly what I was going to do." So this is the way we drink whiskey in this community, isn't it? I mean, you pour a whiskey, you nurse it, you enjoy it, you find everything you can in it. And unfortunately, there's those out there who are part of the. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with these people, but they'll literally pour whiskey, throw it into them, and it's gone. And where was the experience in that? Pete Head, better late than never, my friend. And I did see something else, Chris Mir. There isn't. It certainly does have a funk. That was the Palo Cortado one, I think. That Roy, yes, I can't. Because I don't have a Springbank on hand on the Springbank or elsewhere. Mm, mm. Any Springbank in particular, Roy, if you don't mind me asking, because there is a funk, definitely, but I wouldn't have said it was like the Springbank funk. It's that weird, as I said, celery. I said it before. I was getting Chinese curry straight out the front of it, which I've never found in anything else. But I must say, and I did see somebody saying it earlier on, when you go back to the 12-year-old, it has an old friend thing about it. Straight away, you go back there, and it's just a, a thing. It's just nice. Sorry, Roy. Yes, it's just a funky note. Yes, I would totally agree, Roy. This is what I was saying, that there's definitely a weird thing going on in the Palo Cortado. I At some point, I must say, I would love to try the 21-year-old. Highly unlikely, but you never know. Just to see, you know, because it's not, as far as I could see, it's not something that you see an awful lot of. Is the is as a finishing cask. It's Palo Cortado, as far as I could see, you know. But yeah, I come back to that 12-year-old. Yep, Malcolm Douglas, Old Dry Rafters. That was the one that I was trying to get at the start, and I just couldn't get it. And even the brandy cask, I got it. Old Dry Rafters. It's old wood. There's a mustiness about it, which I like. I think an awful lot of us do, but it sometimes it can play off something else and make it a bit funny. The celery thing, I'm still getting celery, and I'm even back to the 12-year-old. And I'm wondering, is it just still on my palate from one of the earlier ones, or whether this is just Deanston has a something like there is a slight. I'm getting this slight hint of celery and something. Mm, quality. Uh, Deanston just make if this is well, this is three examples of a distillery, and three very very good examples is all I can say about that. At some point, as I said, very very soon, I will be reviewing the Deanston 12, so I don't want to go too far in it, but I do enjoy them, and it's no, it's been something. I'm telling you now that I've had, sorry, because I was reading Greg's comment there, and a celeriac note, and it's weird because now that I've actually went back to the 12 and had it wait in the palate a while and it well into the finish, it's not in the 12. It is in these, and particularly I'm finding it in the Palo Cortado. But it's just something, isn't it? You know, we all find weird and strange things sometimes. I still, this is still one of my favorite things with whiskey, and this is my final thought. I'm going to leave it tonight, and I can't thank you enough for being here. But one of my final thoughts is that this is what, and before I, very soon, sorry, after I became the whiskey novice, I'll go into the story again at some other point. I was told by a bar owner in Belfast, who I'm very friendly with, one of the bars that we work in, that one of the best things about whiskey is the fact that it is so subjective. Nobody can tell you you're wrong. And I thought this is the sport for me, because I spent my life being told I was wrong about everything. Or somebody else stepping up and saying, no, I, you know, okay, you may have a point, but here's where you're wrong. And it just started to grate on me that everything that I tried to get involved in and everything that I enjoyed, there was always somebody there that knew better than I did, and it ruined more fun for me. And when, as I say, that was one of my pathways into whiskey, was him saying that, and I soon get involved with this community here and realized that it was just such a warm and fluffy and wonderful place. And I can't thank you all enough. So that's the way I'm going to leave it tonight. I yet again thank you all for joining in. It was good crack as always, and I'll be back in a couple of weeks with something totally different. Until then, please stay well, stay healthy, look after yourselves, enjoy your whiskey, be dry in between, take care, and here's to your good health. Cheers.